Afternoon and welcome to the Reflective Coach podcast with Coach Luca. Here I'm going to introduce the Coaching Insight series. Now, the Coaching Insight series is one of the main focus points of the Reflective Coach podcast. Now, as you may have seen, I've had the Q&A series with professionals and former professionals in their sporting fields. And part of the Reflective Coach podcast is my own reflections into what started this podcast. Now, this is the third focus area, and I'm going to introduce the fourth and fifth as they come into fruition and as they develop. But I'm just going to talk to you and give you a quick introduction into the Coaching Insight series. So what is the Coaching Insight series? The Coaching Insight series is focused at talking to coaches and professionals involved in their sports. Talking to these individuals will allow discussions to focus around coaching topics, learning experiences, insights, working experiences, coaching philosophies, coaching frameworks, and tips for coaches. Now, I may speak to coaches who may be involved in various sports such as rugby, football, tennis, netball, basketball, and so on, and seeing how all of their skills correlate across the board, but how all their skills differ in various sports. As I interview more coaches, we will interlink how the skills can be amalgamated into developing one key area in a sport delivery, for example. I will talk to each of these coaches about their delivery, how this may differ across the sports, how delivery can interlink, how various aspects of delivery can complement other various ways of delivering. I may talk to these coaches about their values and how other coaches' values differ from each other's, and as to why, and finding out their journey and what has formed and shaped their understanding, their beliefs, what their framework is for coaching. I want to talk to coaches about their experiences, why they coach the way that they do. Why do they inherit certain values and behaviours? How do they manage players? How have they dealt with transition? How have they changed as a coach since they've started? How is it different from coaching tots to adults, for example? Now, some coaches may go, well, that's a simple answer. But for new coaches starting out, or coaches who've never coached either adults or tots, for them to understand and have that full review of differences in coaching tots and adults can be really beneficial for them to understand and have those insights. Some coaches with tots might never want to coach adults. Some who coach adults might never want to do tots. Some, like me, who have coached only up to under 19s, but have started all the way from as young as 18 months, do I really want to coach in the adult world? Now, I've never coached in it, and I've never took an adult group, and that's a new experience which I want to explore within the next couple of years. But is it really for me? Even though I haven't explored it, for me, do I fundamentally know that working with an under 19s group and teenagers between 14 and 19 is the age group for me? Perhaps so. At times, I do enjoy coaching younger groups, such as under 7s, 8s, 9s, and having those fun, energetic sessions. Now, I'm not saying they can't be fun and energetic under 19s, but there's a different type of energy between a 7-year-old and a 19-year-old. And so, therefore, the delivery can vary. I do enjoy these sessions, and I'm not saying I would never coach under 7s again, because there are times that I relish coaching such a young age group because of their pure joy and love for the sport. To come into it having very little to no experience at times and being able to teach and coach them everything that they need. Now, with under 19s, you can coach some players who have never played the sport for long, or you might attract a 17, 18, 19-year-old at under 19s level who have never played the sport or have transferred across. You never know. Each experience differs. But how do we engage those players at different age groups? Now, even though I'm saying, coaching 14s and 19s might be the one for me, definitely, until I open up my horizons into adult football, then I'm never really going to 100% know. So it's about that reflective journey and what started the Reflective Coaching podcast. And it's great to have the Coaching Insight series to talk to these coaches about their insights, their feelings, the way that they coach, their experiences, their values, what has shaped it. And even though I use a framework for interviewing each coach and talking to them, at times the framework is there as a support tool, as it is in coaching. And the conversation may go off in so many different ways that we may not even cover half the questions that I've asked or were prepared to ask, because the conversation has elaborated and we've talked about various experiences. So this is the Coaching Insight series in a quick introduction. I hope it grows and becomes a supporting tool for all coaches and a reflection for them. I'm looking forward to having new interviewees on. And if you're interested, and you don't necessarily have to be a coach, you might be a psychologist, you might be a sports scientist, you may be in sports therapy. The list is endless in terms of what roles are in sport. But I'm always more than welcome to interview and talk to those who are involved in their sports at any different levels. Now, you may not even be involved in a sporting capacity. You may be a teacher or a support worker. You may be a youth worker. I'm still looking forward to talking to you because I'm interested in how we engage young people, how we get to the core insight of each individual. How do we engage with them? Can we apply youth work and social skills work and things from the classroom into coaching? And can we apply everything from coaching into those areas as well? That's why I want to get these discussions going, and I want to look at these learning concepts, and I want to piece them all together and create a holistic view. There are so many different people working with children and young people, and as much as I keep saying children and young people, that's because of where my background is as a coach. But if I can create a holistic understanding across the board, then this may be beneficial. I've worked in education. I've also been a youth worker. I've been a support worker. I've worked across play, community, housing, alternative education, mainstream education, additional learning needs. I've worked in pro academies. I've worked in private coaching centres. I've worked in community coaching, grassroots coaching. So my list is extensive. And when I go into coaching, I apply all my experience and my skills and that knowledge that I've been able to develop into my coaching sessions. And I've been able to develop a coaching framework into a curriculum as head of coaching whilst at a grassroots club, because I know what benefits the players in terms of from an educational background, in terms of learning styles and how to engage players, in terms of what works from a youth work skill and how to get to the players who may be struggling or experiencing difficulties, and get into the core concepts of coaching and applying what I've learned from a pro academy and what they're looking for in helping my players progress on their journey as they have their own individual beliefs and goals. So I'm able to apply it all because I have that extensive experience. For other coaches, they may never experience the educational pathway, or you may get coaches who are dads, for example, or mums or sisters who may come through the grassroots element and have just started out on their coaching journey to benefit the children in front of them. You know, most of the time we see dads being recruited through grassroots because their child plays. Now, the whole point of the Reflective Coach podcast is to support coaches entirely. And if there's so many different strands that I can delve into and support and create learning tools, talk and reflect about various experiences, talk to other coaches, professionals, individuals involved in sports right across the field, provide Q&A series from professionals and former professionals, then the list is extensive of learning opportunities and insights. I want to give experiences and support coaches as much as possible. I created the CRP program as head of coaching, a continued learning program, and everything that I'm going to provide on YouTube, hopefully Twitter, as well as what you can hear on Spotify. And as part of this podcast, you can reach out to me and we are able to explore this together. I'm always open to general discussions as well, meeting and networking with coaches and professionals, etc. So this is the Reflective Coach podcast. This is the Coaching Insight series. I hope you may find it beneficial and I hope that you enjoy it. I really enjoyed my first interview the other day, interviewing another coach and talking about the differences between Welsh football and English football, for example, but what their journey has looked like for them and how they've changed. It was a fascinating interview and we really enjoyed it. And even though we only penciled in an hour, we've now penciled in a series of other interviews. So it can be more than one with an interviewee, and I'm looking for regular guests on the Coaching Insight series. But this is Coach Luca. You're able to reach out and find me on Twitter and LinkedIn. You can also find the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, and Podcast Addict. Reach out to me. I hope you enjoy the Reflective Coaching podcast. I hope you enjoy the Coaching Insight series. This is Coach Luca, the Reflective Coach podcast.